Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be on live today and to share some time with you. I haven't been on in a really long time. I don't even know the last time I did live. I think it's been a while. But for those who are joining, thank you so much. It's wonderful to see you. I'm going to take some time to just hang out for a little bit here before I get into live today. So hopefully everybody's day is going well. I'm going to take a little swig of some water before I start. Yeah, so I wanted to come on live today like I usually do and to answer some questions. I printed them out. So to all who have sent in some questions, thank you very much. I will definitely be answering them. But just like with live usual, if you have any questions during live, you can always put them in the comment section and we can always have a conversation. I also encourage all of you to comment and talk amongst yourselves, because I think it's really interesting seeing when people can connect. And a lot of times I find that somebody might know another person and they'll find each other on live, and it's pretty fun to have conversations there. So yeah, so anyways, let me take a little sip of water here. I'm gonna try to open it. I rearranged the studio a little bit as well. I don't know if you noticed. I could give you a little tour later. But yeah, it's been a lot of changes these past couple months. I don't know if you've noticed. Oh, no worries. Thank you so much, Julia, for tuning in. It's good to see you. Yeah, and anybody else who wants to watch this, I try to post it on YouTube, although the last live session, for some reason, I couldn't download the session. So if you want to try to catch it in 24 hours. And if not, I'm going to try posting it on my YouTube channel as well. So you can look me up on YouTube, Satsuki Shibuya, and you'll see my past Instagram live postings there as well if you're interested in checking those out. It's always fun to kind of look back and stuff. So again, thank you for joining and taking the time to come on with me. Hopefully other people will come on in as I move along. Okay, so first and foremost, there's been a lot of things happening. こんにちは。ありがとうございます。Also, yeah, もし日本の方で、インスタグラムライブを今見てくださっていました。ありがとうございます。ずいぶん長い間、インスタしていなくて、今日久々にやろうかなと思って、もし質問がありましたらぜひ、日本語でもこちらのコメントに書いていただければお答えさせていただきます。ありがとうございます。So what I said, I do in Japanese and English as well. So pretty much anything that I say in Japanese or in English, I try to make sure I translate it. But for Japanese watchers, I want to make sure that they can come into the conversation as well. Okay, so my Instagram questions are right here. I'm gonna be going through them. And some are in Japanese as well, so I'll be answering in Japanese and then I can translate it into English for those that are watching. And again, feel free to chime in anytime and we'll be more than happy to answer questions. Okay, so let's get started here. Okay, so the first question comes from Coloreo. Thank you very much for your Instagram question. And she has a few here, so I'm going to space them out and answer them. So she says she's looking forward to reading Satsuki no Tegami in English and Japanese. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to try to speak in both so that people can join in. But yeah, so Satsuki no Tegami, I started it and it's actually a separate Instagram page. And I am working on a book right now. Maybe I shouldn't talk too much about it yet, but I'm working on another poetry book right now and maybe some short stories in there. We'll see how it goes. But I've been debating on whether to do it in English and in Japanese again, or maybe release it in English and then maybe in Japanese separately. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. But Satsuki no Tegami is kind of little excerpts from there, and also any kind of poetry that comes through that's a little bit shorter that I feel like sharing is what she's talking about. So I'm not going to continue the Instagram Satsuki no Tegami because I found out that a lot of people like to stay on one account. So I'll be sharing it on my main account here, but It is part of that series, so if you're interested, check it out. But thank you. I'm glad you're interested in that and enjoying it. So the first question she asks is, when you drown, how do you feel? And I'm not sure if she meant, because she's a Japanese speaker as well, I'm not sure if she meant drown or if she meant when I'm drawing, but I'll take it as face value, saying when I'm drowning. So I think what she's trying to say is when I'm feeling down or when I'm feeling overwhelmed, like how do I feel and how do I kind of work through it. So as some of you may have noticed, these past few months, I've been doing a lot of experimenting on my Instagram account, and a lot of people have been asking why my artistic aesthetics have been changing pretty dramatically. And I think it's through that process, I definitely was feeling a lot of stress and anxiety behind the scenes. And it's really difficult, I think, to go through the whole process of emotionally breaking things down, why I want to pursue a particular visual language, or, why is it important to create in a certain way? And all these different questions are coming up. And so emotionally, when I'm feeling very, how do I say, like overwhelmed and kind of drowning and feeling very tied to a lot of things that are happening, I do a few things. So one is I've been trying to be more mindful about really harnessing those emotions and kind of working through them in the sense of not trying to ignore them or trying to push them aside or trying to label them or do something with them right away, but to just kind of sit with them. And what I've realized through this process, and it's not easy, and I'm not going to say that I've mastered it in any way, but what I've been able to understand is that when I allow it to be, whatever it is, whatever uncomfortable feeling it is, I start to understand that, oh, thank you. I start to understand that an emotion is separate from my own consciousness. And what I mean by that is when I allow the emotion to take over, it becomes a part of my identity and it becomes a part of what I'm trying to like how I'm seeing the world. But really interesting enough, when you sit and allow it to kind of do its thing and move and give you those, ups and downs of emotions and feelings, after a while, when you kind of let it be and not force it to do something, it becomes like, oh, okay, so I'm going through this emotion, I'm going through this feeling, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is me. Like, it's not a part of who I am as an individual. So when I'm starting to drown in a lot of emotions and feelings and thoughts, I try to stop and take a breath and to understand, okay, is this a feeling and emotion that is a part of what I'm going through? Is it something that I need to be aware of? Is it something? So I just try to kind of, it's almost like I take a moment to see if I can talk to it, like as if it's another person. Not to say like there's like, I'm talking to myself per se, but it's more of a moment to kind of reflect. And when I start to do that, I realize that it's not as overwhelming when I'm able to really kind of break it down and understand that it is just a momentary thing that I'm going through at that time and place. It's not like a forever thing, and it might come up, it might be continually coming up because it comes in waves, but I know, long time no see. But again, it's being able to kind of put that space between you and your consciousness and the emotion and feelings that are coming through, because that definitely is not a part of who you are. So that's one thing that I do. And then the other thing that I do that I've implemented is when you're going through a lot of things and you're drowning, it's really difficult to do anything complicated, right? Like, your mind is going, your emotions are going, or you're just getting taken over. So what I do is I really concentrate on the breath, and I literally close my eyes and I And when I take a breath in, I really feel like the air going through the nostrils and like the air coming through the throat and into the lungs. And I really take a moment to kind of be with myself, trying to let the thoughts be. And when you concentrate on that, it really detaches you from that thinking and emotions and all the kind of whirlwind that's going on inside. And it gives you that space to be able to catch yourself and be like, okay, I just need a second to kind of gather myself. And I kind of do that a few times. And then when I have a little bit of space, then I start to allow myself to breathe a little bit deeper and a little bit calmer and just allow that to be this cycle. And then I can go into a little bit more of the emotions and feelings that I'm going through. So it's a process, and it definitely isn't easy, but when you're drowning, you really need simple things to kind of catch yourself and go back into the present moment. And what I found is anytime we're drowning, it's because our mind is in the past or in the future. And when we can find peace and quiet and a moment to have that space is when we can get in the present. So I try to do that as much as I can. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next question is, yes, present moment awareness. I know it's hard. Some people are really good at it, but I find that it's, my mind goes back and forth. Even when I'm doing yoga or meditation, before I know it, my mind is like thinking about breakfast or something. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold on, come back. So it's not anything where I'm like, oh no, I'm not in the present, but it's definitely like this continual, constant, okay, come back to the present. And for me, what helps to come back into the present is to be focused on the body. So body sensations. So, I'll focus on my breathing. Yes, coming back. Yeah. And just, my sitting posture, or I give gratitude and thanks to my body and being able to breathe, or my heart pumping the blood, things like simple things that allow to come back into the body. Yes. Allows to be in the present moment, because that's, I think, where you're able to really harness that quiet. Our mind is going all the time. So yeah. Okay, so the next question is from Mogu Takahashi. Thank you so much. I love your work, by the way. Super huge fan. But she writes, do you have something special routine before you start painting? So thank you for your question. Yes. So regardless of painting, I think in general, I do have a routine to kind of help set the day and set the mood. And when I'm not able to do it, even for like a minute or two, I feel really off. And so my morning routine is I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do after using the restroom and, taking care of bodily functions, take a swig of water, is I meditate. And there's this really great app that I recently have been using, and it's called, oh my gosh, why am I blanking right now? Instatimer? No, hold on a second. Oh, what is the name of it? I'm gonna look it up online. Hold on a second. Because I have to share it with you. It's such a great app. Hold on. Let me look it up real quick. Meditation app, timer. Oh, okay, here we go. So the name of the meditation app that I've been using is, yes, Insight Timer. Thank you so much. Happy little house. Yes, exactly. So I've been using Insight Timer because I noticed that not only is it free, I know it's great, right? It has like a bajillion different meditations for, yes, I'm so glad a lot of people use it. Yes, so I recently started using this meditation app because it gives you not only meditation, guidance meditation, you have the timer on it, you can do it without sound, you could do it with sound, you can do it with music, you can do it with a teacher, you can do it with so many different styles of meditation. And I think it really helps if you're wanting to do it for like a specific time period, and you can kind of increase it incrementally. Anyways, so it's just a really great app. So that's the meditation app that I use. I also do meditation, just purely sitting, and, other ways of meditating, like breath meditation, chakra meditation. But the Insight Timer, I think, is really great. So for those who are looking for a meditation app, I would highly, highly recommend it. I actually purchased it because I want to support it, and I want to support the meditation teachers and the app itself to develop. So if you support good meditation and you want to support great companies, then try to support them with your earning power, because I'm all for that, trying to support good people doing good things. Anyway, so I meditate in the morning, usually between 5 to 15 minutes, depending on what time I wake up and what the schedule for the day is looking like. And then after that, I do some reading. So I use a Kindle, and the reason why is because I have currently reading about 6 to 10 books at a time. And the reason why is because I like to, depending on where my intuition is guiding me in the morning, I like to have a few different subject matters to read. So I have about 2 different books on spirituality that I'm rotating between. I have 2 books on like art and creativity. So one is a writing book, and one is on art creation. And then I have 2 books on medical related stuff, so anything that I'm trying to research more, like digestive systems, or currently I'm looking more into vestibular migraine, because that's a health issue that I'm going through. So I have 2 books on that. So I simultaneously have some books that I rotate through, and the really interesting thing is that I've noticed is when I meditate and then I allow the mind to open up, then I'll get it's almost like an intuitive knowing of what I need to read in order to continue on that practice. So it's almost like the meditation sets the stage, allows to clear the mind. And then through that meditation, I'll get some kind of internal knowing, like it's as simple as like, oh, you know what, I feel like reading this today, or something maybe in the guided meditation will awaken something in my mind, and I'll go on and read, and I'll find out that, oh my gosh, that reading material that I was so drawn to ties into what I just felt in meditation, and could be something that I'm trying to work through in my art practice or in my daily life. So it's really interesting how that kind of ties together. So I'll do the reading, and then after I do the reading for either it's a chapter, a few pages, even a page if I don't have time, then I'll go into journaling. And the journaling really helps to solidify that process. So the meditation, inspiration, or intuitive messages that come through, I read to open up the mind, to kind of help to process things. And then in the journal, it's almost to like solidify the things that I'm going through, to really make sure that I'm digesting it, and to make it into my own personal, like putting it into the subconscious. So writing really helps. And also when I write, it helps to kind of bring things back into my own perspective, and I can apply it to my art practice. So just to kind of give you an example. So this morning during my meditation practice, I was doing a guided meditation about flow and letting go. And really interesting enough, it was something that has been on my mind and in my art practice as well as my everyday life, just trusting the universe or trusting God, however it makes sense to you to say, trusting to be guided. And then I immediately knew which book I needed to read. And the funny thing is, I forgot where I left off in that book. It's a spiritual book, where I left off. But right when I opened it, it was boom, like right there, talking about flow. And I thought, whoa, that's so crazy. So I was reading about flow in the book, and it talked more deeper about what flow is and like how that works, which I wrote in the journal today. Let me read you a little passage of it. It's so interesting. Anyways, here's my journal for those of you who are interested what I'm writing. So this is kind of where I put all my thoughts down. So I read the passage in the book, and then during the reading I thought, oh, okay, I get it. I want to tie everything together. So the reading today was talking about flow and life purpose and life's work. And in the reading, what I realized was that life purpose is the process of evolving yourself. And life work is the service you came to offer humanity, right? And then what I thought about is, okay, and the book talked about life purpose and life work being intertwined. Because a lot of times we talk about it as being 2 separate entities, but they're actually 2 in the same, right? So then it breaks it down. The reading broke it down and said, as you serve others, meaning, and service could be anything. It could be art, it could be teaching, it could be helping another, it can even be sharing a smile with someone, or just anything that you're offering as your gift to another person, right? So as you serve others, you will naturally evolve yourself. So just by being who you are, just by sharing your love and your gifts, just doing that naturally will evolve your soul, evolve you as a spirit and as an individual, right? Naturally. And then it writes, as you evolve and radiate more light, and light can mean anything, your heart, it could be your essence, it could be who you are as an individual, but just as you are, if you evolve and radiate your light, you automatically serve others. So it's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting how it kind of goes in this circle. And the reason why this really stuck out to me is because I was questioning, does my art really make a difference? Does my poetry writing, does it really make a difference? Like, does it really help people? I don't know. Do I need to be doing something more potent, like go saving people directly, But when I read this, I realized that no, we all have our purpose, our life's work, right? Because we all came here to do something specific, and we all have our role to play, and we're not here to do everybody's work, but we're all here to do our individual work, and together as a unit, as unity, we can start making huge changes. So I just thought this was amazing. And so I wrote this in my journal, and yeah, I can share the book. Give me a second. I'll take it. Oh, you know what? I wrote it down in my journal. See, so I don't forget. So the book is called Spiritual Growth, Being Your Higher Self by Sanya Roman. Check it out. She has a few different books. I think there's 6 to the series, but I've read 3 of them. And yeah, and it's just like, bam, it hit me like, wow, that's so good. Oh, here's another good part from the book. So she writes, figure out life's work. So what is your life work and your spirit work? And the way you find out is 1, based on the skills you love to use. Okay, so in my case, it's art and writing. For you, it could be teaching, it could be anything, gardening, whatever it is, right? 2nd, things you love to do. Simple, right? Do you love to be with people? Do you love to quiet time and read? And then the 3rd way of figuring out your life's work is areas which you are naturally drawn. So if you can put those 3 together, it will lead you to your life's work. And it's actually very like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? And then in order to evolve yourself, this is the point, whatever you love to do will also serve others, okay? In some way, for it is the nature of the universe, or God, or the source, that when you use your highest skills, you automatically contribute to others, right? Wow. So when I read this morning, it just hit so, like, it just, boom, like hit me in the heart, because I thought, yeah, it's really simple. If we all do what we love, what we align to, what makes us happy, what brings joy to us, it naturally, oh, nice. But yeah, it naturally contributes to bettering the world and other people. It really does help to ignite the souls of other people. And we know this intuitively, but when I write it down like this and digest it, it's when it makes perfect sense. And then it helps to fuel my practice. So anyway, sorry, that's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, Mogu, but yeah, so that's kind of the process that I use before I go into the studio, and also when I do artwork, or when I'm, living everyday life, cooking, whatever it is, because I feel like when I do those 3 things, oh, and yoga, sorry, that's the 4th thing. When I do those things in concession, it brings everything together for me, and it helps to put my practice in the right frame of mind in order for me to be creating in the right place, if that makes sense. Anyways, thank you for your question. Okay, so the next question comes from Happy Little Haas. Hopefully you're still on, but thank you for your question. So they write, I love your work. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yes, I am on Goodreads. You can find me on Satsuki Shibuya. I read all different kind of books, so hopefully you enjoy following along. But yeah, I'm on Goodreads, definitely. Okay, so they write, any tips on finding your artistic voice? Okay, so let me think here. There's actually a lot of ways. And it really depends on the way that works for you. So, for example, for me personally, I go in through research. And so, anytime that I'm feeling a very strong pull to change my artistic voice or to really hone in on it, what helps me is I jot down notes and I write people who or places or things or topics or books or anything that really aligns with who I am, what I want to do, what I'm wanting to express. And then I start to break it down into bite-sized pieces that really can kind of move me towards more of a visual language. So, for example, when I was in Singapore recently, I was really moved by the architecture and the how do I say it, the culture. And I started to realize that I'm very moved by Japanese culture and my Japanese background and heritage. And what does that mean to me? And why am I moved by it? What is it about it that really moves me? And I started to kind of research that and see like what really stuck. And I found out that I was really moved by old Japanese art, and especially like the line qualities, and even some of the subject matters are really calling out to me. And so I would start to bring those visuals together, and then I started to think about, okay, what is it about the culture also that speaks to me? Like Zen Buddhism really speaks to me. The quietness, intentionality, the craftsmanship, the very specificness of Japanese culture and creativity really speaks to me. So I started to bring those elements in. So I'm kind of pulling visual, social words all together in, I print out pages and pages of visuals. I'll write it in my notebook. So I'm just kind of gathering stuff. I'm also really drawn by like Scandinavian design, and also just the way that they think, the processes, the philosophy. So I'll bring that in. So I'm kind of, it's almost like when you're cooking and you're putting all the different ingredients into one pot and you're just kind of like marinating everything. So that's the first process I go through when I'm trying to create like an artistic voice. And then I start to weed things out. So the things that are, I'll sketch things out. I'll start to kind of put things together, almost like building a Lego, different elements, different pieces. Some things work, some things don't. And so I'll start to weed out things that don't work for me, and keep the things that do. And I'll, again, jot memos down as I'm processing it until I get to a point where it's almost like, oh, thanks. It's almost like it clicks and you're like, yeah. And for me, if you've noticed on my Instagram feed, I've been doing this process publicly, and it's actually the first time I've been really sharing public, and it feels really vulnerable. But I wanted to be open about this process, that it's not easy, but and it takes a lot of different angles. You're approaching it from different angles, you're trying things out. And just recently, I don't know if you noticed, but my the voice is really starting to, at least for me, is really starting to gel, and it's starting to feel like my own. And that's kind of when and that part, it's really hard. It's almost like an intuitive feeling where that whatever you're creating visually, it feels right internally. And I think that's where, at least for me, I start to understand, okay, this is my artistic voice, this is how I want to be presenting it. And there's some artists that have one artistic voice throughout their entire career. But what I've found out through my research this time around and working through it is there's many, many artists out there like Matisse, Picasso, many greats who have had multiple voices throughout their career. And they're very different. And if you go through their work, it's really interesting. Like they'll completely switch to a whole different visual language and you're like, what happened? And we only see their masterpieces and what they're known for. But if you look back to maybe the works that are not really known, you find that it's very different, and it's okay, and that's kind of part of doing it in the long run. If you're looking to, right? Yeah, if you're looking to be an artist or creative or writer or whatever, if you're planning on doing it and it's like your life path and it's a long-term thing, it's very natural to change, because I think we evolve as humans and we evolve as individuals as our life experience comes and goes. So we would want to express things differently. And I think it's a really scary thing, because if you become known or you have a career based on a certain aesthetic or a certain thing, it's really hard to change because it's scary. What if people don't respond to it? And it's really, even for me, it was really scary to make the switch and to explore, because you don't know what that next thing is going to be. You're kind of searching for it, right? So you don't know where the destination is, and it's freaky, but internally that it's time, and it's time to make that change for yourself. So yeah, so that's kind of how I have continually evolved my artistic voice. And just at the end of the day, I think it's simply trusting your internal guidance and your internal compass. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah, so it's trusting that internal voice, and if it's telling you something needs to change, then to respect it enough and respect yourself enough to know that, okay, I don't know what it is yet, but I'm gonna look for it, and it's okay, and it takes time, and that's okay too. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. Thanks for writing in. Okay, so the next question is from hopefully I'm saying this right, Clindo Elilio. Cleo and Delilio. Sorry, I don't think I'm saying that right, but I think you know who you are. So they write, you may not want to answer this, but oh, good. Oh, I'm so glad everybody's resonating to this. Yes, I'm so glad. It's tough. It's not easy. It's not easy. But it's possible. Anything's possible, right? Okay, so the question is, you may not want to answer this, but what are your thoughts on Jesus? Thank you for your question. And there's no question that is out of bounds, so please feel free to ask whatever you like. If I can't answer, I'll let you know. If it's something that either I don't have an opinion on, or I need to research more, or I just don't have answers to, I'll be honest about it and I'll tell you as well. So, but this question, yeah, I'm more than happy to answer it. So my thoughts on Jesus are, and I don't know if any of you have read some of my other interviews that have a little bit more of a religious connotation to it, but just to share a little bit of my background. So both of my parents are Buddhist lay monks. I grew up in a Buddhist household, but I was never very much tied to a religion, because I've always had a curiosity for different ways of thinking and being and perspective. So growing up, I would join my friends to go to, a Christian church. I would go to Cathedral Catholic Church. I would go Judaism, all these different religions. I would go check out a choir on a weekend. And my parents would think I'm crazy, because obviously for them, they want their child to be Buddhist, because that's what they believe in. But I think they also were very open-minded in that sense, that they allowed me to explore and really understand what religion was and is. And so for me, I think what I found out about Jesus is that with any major religion, I haven't had a chance to really dive into all the different denominations and smaller aspects of Christianity, but from all the different major denominations that I've been able to go into, like Presbyterian and there's so many other ones that I can't name them all off yet, but is that all the religious figures, whether it's Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, they all have not only shared very, very profound and deep wisdom with the people that were their followers at the time they were living, but that was very potent and important information that was needed at that time. So if you look back at history and when these figures were alive and sharing their wisdom, spiritual wisdom, at the time when Jesus was living, it was very specific to that time and that region and the people, and they needed that teaching at that time. And when I think of Jesus not as a religion, not as Christianity, but Jesus as a figure, I realized that what he says and what Buddha says and what Muhammad says is all pretty much the same. Different language, different time periods, stated for different audience, different people. But I think what's beautiful is that in this day and age, we are very, very fortunate, and not everybody is, but fortunate to be able to seek out religion that speaks to us and our spiritual development. And me personally, I don't align with any one religion, although I feel very close to Zen and Buddhism and Taoism and those Eastern philosophies, just because it ties a lot into nature, and I feel like nature is my religion in a way, or in the universe. But you know, I think that there's elements of that in all religions, including Christianity and Jesus. So what I love about Jesus is that the way that he was able to describe the teachings was very, how do I say, potent information in a way that was very accessible to people, and in a way that people can understand it, can hold dreams, can hold hopes, can hold things spiritually that maybe at that time and day and age it was really difficult, because life at that time was really difficult. You know, the day to day, you know, they didn't have the luxuries and they didn't have the comforts that we have now. And so I think that the way that he taught the teachings of Christianity through his vision and through his perspective was really important and needed. And I still think it's very, if you look at the Bible and if you read the Bible, it's still very potent till this day. If you really break it down, and I'm not talking about, you know, the way that it's been translated and, you know, it's been broken down by other religious figures or other religious people, but I mean like the core text of it and the basis of it is still very relevant to this day, because I think what he taught is timeless, and it's very, again, it's very relatable. And I think that was what his gifts were, was to be able to teach something in a very relatable way and a very accessible way. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on Jesus, is that of course, I think along with all the other very prominent religious figures and religions, is that what he taught was important. I think it covers all the things that all the other main religious figures covers. And it's just a matter of what aligns with you as an individual for your spiritual journey, and how you can apply the teachings in a way that helps you become the soul and the spirit that you aspire to, or that you feel you want to evolve to, because we're all working towards something like that, right? So hopefully that answered your question. I know that's kind of a long-winded answer, but yeah, I think Jesus is cool. Along with Buddha and Muhammad and all the other amazing spirits that were here, that chose to come down and share, you know, their wisdom with us, because we wouldn't have all these beautiful teachings if it wasn't for them. So yeah, anyways, thank you for your question. And no, it wasn't a question that I would have ignored or anything like that. Okay, so the next question is from Coloreo, and it's in Japanese, so I'm going to say in Japanese and then I'll translate it. So コロレアさんの質問なんですが、日本人の私が英語で自分の思いを伝えたいとき、どんな風に練習をするといいと思いますか? So your question is, as a Japanese person, when I am trying to explain my emotions and feelings in English, how do you think I should practice it? What is the best way? そうですね。私が思うんですが、一番いい方法っていうか、いいやり方は、相手の気持ちを最初によく理解することで、それに対して自分がどれぐらい感じてることを伝えるか、言葉とかっていうよりかは本当に心から話すことが大事で、もし言葉が全然バラバラでも、もし単語が並ばなくても、 相手に伝わるんですよね、この気持ちっていうのは。だからそれがもし全部言葉じゃなくてこう体を使ってでもいいですし、手を使ってでもいいんですけど、やっぱり目とやっぱり心を通して話すっていうのはすごくやっぱり重要で、それが英語である時は特に自分はこうちゃんと話せてるかなとか心配するかもしれないですけど、でも正直な気持ちでやっぱり相手に伝えたいっていうのが一番大きければ大きいほど相手に伝わるのであって、それが言葉が違っていても全然伝わる。そう、本当に不思議なことで、やっぱり言葉っていうのはエネルギーで、気持ちもエネルギーなので、それを伝えることに集中すれば絶対伝わると思います。Okay, so just to translate English. So what I was explaining was that the interesting thing is the most important thing when speaking English, if you're not a native English speaker, is not so much the language that you're using. Of course, it's important, but let's say your English ability is not at a point where you can be talking like a native. What's more important is the feeling and the thought and the emotion that you're wanting to convey to the other person, and making that the focus of what you're trying to communicate. And it could be through broken English, using the English that you know at that time. Maybe it's hand signals, maybe it's body language, all of that combined. But the most important thing is to keep in mind, what is it that you're trying to explain to the person? What is it that you're trying to get across, that emotion? Because emotions and words are energy at the end of the day, and we're having an energetic exchange with another person when we're talking. So all that really needs to be there is that intention of wanting to communicate, wanting to connect with the other person, and strangely enough, the other person will know. And I've seen this happen so many times, because you can feel it when the other person is wanting to connect with you and wanting to share something with you. They're very enthusiastic, and you get it. And it's like this beautiful exchange that happens, and there might not even be that many words that are exchanged, right? So I think that's the most important part, is keeping that in mind and not being shy about it, because language is universal. You don't have to be able to speak perfectly in order to communicate what you want to say to the other person. So hopefully that answers your question. ありがとうございます。Okay, so the next question is from the letter J Supply, and they write, love your work, thank you very much. How do you keep developing and evolving as an artist? Okay, so I'm kind of thinking through this a little bit here. There's so many answers to this, and I feel like the most easiest way to developing, evolving as an artist is to continually be asking yourself, why is it that I'm creating what I'm creating? What is it that I want to be doing with my creation? So for example, if it's art in particular, what is the purpose of making art? And why is it bringing me joy? Or why is it my mode of communication? Or why do I feel that I want to keep practicing? You know, whatever questions that you want to ask yourself. But it's basically the development, the evolving is being conscious about why you're wanting to move forward. What is it that is making you want to continue down that path? And there might be times where you feel like, okay, I'm happy where I'm at, and you want to stay at a certain point, and that's okay too. You're just kind of moving along and developing this certain level, and at times you might want to push and move forward, or move into a different stage in your career, and there's times for that too. I think we're so concentrated on always evolving, always developing, which is great, but there's also a beauty and also a peace in being happy with where we are currently in our lives as well, and finding gratitude and finding like soul how do I say, like soul grounding, being in a certain place and not always feeling like you need to keep pushing and developing and evolving. So I think there's like seasons for this. You know, there's some times where we take a pause and we breathe and we take in the sight and we take in the smells, and as an artist we really kind of dive deep into our practice as we are. And then when times comes and we feel restless and we're like, okay, you know what, it's time to change. Like we need to do something about this change is when the development in the evolving comes. So I think as long as you can stay focused on why you're creating as an artist, what is it that you're wanting to pursue, and if that is continuing to align with your practice, then stay there and really dive deep into that practice and really explore what those answers are to you. But if you find that you ask the questions and they're not aligning with what you're doing, then maybe it's time to develop and evolve. And that could mean anything from taking a trip. If you're into that, you can read, you can take a break from your studio practice and maybe go explore something else like knitting or pottery. It can be diving into a spiritual practice, going into yoga, or you can do meditation. There's so many ways that you can evolve and develop. It doesn't necessarily have to be directly art related to bring all these insights back into your art practice. Because I feel like life is what we are trying to life is what we're trying to communicate through art. It's just one mode of communication, just as much as music and lyrics is one way of exploring and talking about life. Art is another way too. So I think living life is really important in order to continue developing and evolving as an artist. Because if you don't have the substance, and if you're not full of experience in life within, you have really nothing to communicate, right? And you have nothing to really talk about. And with art, you have nothing really to create. So I think it's important to continue to develop that part of yourself and living life and enjoying life. Because that's kind of part of what brings the joy in making art. It's all, this whole cycle. So anyways, hopefully that answered your question. Thank you so much. Okay, so another question from Coloreo, and they write, and it's in Japanese. So 質問は最近具体的に人や景色を描かれているのですが、何かインスピレーションがあったのですか? So the question translated is, recently I've noticed that you've started to draw more realistically people and landscapes. Did you have some inspiration to make the change? So thank you for your question. I'm going to answer in Japanese first. そうですね。11月か12月頃にいろいろあって、8年間わからなかった病名がやっと分かったのと、あとは自分が描いてた絵とその相手に感じてもらいたいっていうのが何か一致しなくなって、それでthank you Sebastian, I'll definitely answer your question. 一致しなくなって、それで自分が何かずれているんだろうな、ずれているってすごく感じるようになって、それから12月の半ばぐらいからずっともがいてるっていうか、本当に自分は何を言いたいのか、何を書きたいのかっていうのをすごく考えて、いろいろ研究して本も読んで、もうなんかいろいろ探した中で自分の答えっていうか、何を表現したいのかっていうのが徐々に出てきたっていうか、瞑想もそうなんですけど、いろいろした中でやっと出てきた答えが、アブストラクトの絵を描くのもすごく好きなんですけど、やっぱり相手にもっと深く、もっと直接つながってほしい、感じてもらいたいっていうのが大きくて、それでやっぱり何を表現したいかって言ったら、人間の感情とか、やっぱり風景で感じる気持ちっていうか、感情、感性とか、そういう目で見ても心で感じる、心の中で感じる、心の中で見るなんか風景とかを同時に描きたくて、それでずっとやっとつい最近自分の方向性が見えてきたっていうか、こういうふうに絵を描きたいんだなっていうのが、なんか次の段階が見えてきた感じで、それでそういう意味で変わってきたっていうのが、なんていうんですかね、絵をまた新しい方向で描きたいっていうのがあって、今の方向になりました。Okay, so let me translate what I answered. So I was explaining around November, December, a lot of life events happened where one was I was diagnosed with vestibular migraine, and it was an 8-year process of not knowing, what health issues I was going through, and just kind of finally getting that diagnosis was huge, huge eye opener for me. But also in November, I started to notice that the artwork that I was creating wasn't communicating in the way that I wanted it to, or it wasn't translating in the way that I was feeling inside. And I think a lot of shifts are happening. And so I took the time to take a break from the way that I've been creating and to really explore this feeling that I was sensing, and intuitively this shift that I was feeling. What is it that I'm trying to communicate? What is it that I'm wanting to say? How is it that I'm wanting to visually express that? And so for these 5-6 months, it's just been this deep exploration of really intense and at times very, very hard look at why I'm creating, and what is it that I'm doing, and is it even, does it even matter? And all these questions that you ask as an artist, kind of revisiting that, almost like starting from scratch in a way. And through that, what I've realized, and I think just recently I've started to feel like, okay, I'm getting to a point where I'm seeing the other side of it, where I'm starting to see things coming together visually. What I'm creating and what I'm feeling internally is starting to come together. And I think what I've realized is, as I love abstract art, but I'm wanting to communicate more specifically certain emotions, and whether that is through landscapes or people's faces, or writing, for example, that I'm wanting it to be more direct, but with still space for room for breathing and for people to have different interpretations of it. So finding that balance, I think, has been really difficult. But it's the direction that I've been wanting to go, and and finally seeing it come together. So thank you for your question. ありがとうございます。Okay, so the next question I have is from Parole a Porter. Thank you. And they write, I've discovered you through the Creativity Habit. Thank you so much. Daphne's great, right? And it feels really close to my story. For those who are not familiar, I did a podcast interview called The Creativity Habit by Daphne. Check out her Creativity Habit podcast. It's amazing. She interviews really, really diverse creatives from all different backgrounds, and she dives deep into their process and why they do what they do. It's stuff that I love it. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, process-oriented creativity, check out her podcast. But I do have an interview there if you're interested. Actually, I have two. And I dive really deep with her in my spiritual and creative practice. So they write, did you observe any self-sabotage at the beginning of your artistic spiritual life? Yes. Yes, I did. And I still do. I can't 100% say that I'm, like every day is easy peasy, or that I'm, so tuned in that it's like second nature to me. It's not. And that's why I have a morning routine, a very pretty strict, rigid spiritual practice in the morning, so that I can continuously, consciously, mindfully put myself in that place. But yeah, I think that self-sabotage in the sense of like internal dialogue. So, oh, I'm such a fake, I don't know, I'm not a spiritual thought person or leader. I've never gone through like seminary, or I've never gone through like, any kind of spiritual like training. I have no certificate, or even with my energy reading, like, I've never gone through like a course to learn how to do this, or with my art, I don't have a painter's background. So yes, I constantly had that in my mind, and I still do when I'm going through moments where I'm self-doubting. I'll go into that space in my mind, like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. This is like, I'm such a like phony. But what I've come to realize is that we all start from somewhere, and while we move forward, each step that we take in order to do the thing that we feel aligned to do, we are developing our skills and we are developing our expertise. And without realizing, we do know more than we realize. And we don't necessarily have to have these accolades or certificates. I mean, some parts, yes. Like for example, if you're a doctor and you're going to surgically open up somebody, I do hope you have a degree. But certain things that we feel intuitively aligned to, I feel like the only permission we really need is from ourselves. And maybe, yes, it does require some learning. So for example, I don't have a certificate, but I've read a lot of books, I've attended workshops. So, there's different ways of acquiring the knowledge that doesn't necessarily equate to something like tangible on paper. But it doesn't mean that you're not an expert on it. And so I think the self-sabotage a lot of times for myself came from feeling like I'm inadequate or that I'm not good enough or I don't know enough. But when in reality, we all, the funny thing is, going back to what I was sharing at the beginning of this podcast about that, having your gifts, we all have gifts that we come with, that we are naturally attuned with. And we can develop those, we can choose to develop those or not. But if we do, we already have this knowing, an internal compass. And so we actually already have like a base for it. We just need to kind of polish it up a little bit. So anytime there's self-sabotage, I think it's important to realize that a lot of times it's not truth. It could just be something that we're having mentally because we're in fear or we are self-doubting ourselves, but it's just that. There's nothing more to it. And if we were to be able to move past that, and the way that I move past it is sometimes it just requires me to get right to work and just keep working. Sometimes it's taking a break and going outside and enjoying nature. Sometimes it's just watching a funny video online and kind of getting my mind out of there and be like, okay, whew, like get that out of there. Like, I don't need any of that. But sometimes it's just a matter of switching that perspective or switching that mind off, because a lot of times it could be this old way of thinking and it doesn't necessarily equate to who we are as individuals anymore. So anyways, yes, I do have self-sabotage and I have to constantly be aware of that, or it'll be going on in my mind and I have to be like, oh, okay, turning that off, like, goodbye. And have to say goodbye a few times, it'll come back. It's pretty persistent. So I have to be like, goodbye. Nope. Goodbye again. Oh, nope. Goodbye again. For it to really go away. And it'll come back again. And that's okay. It's the same practice. I noticed that there's a parallel. Same practice as coming back to the present moment. So your mind might go to the past, it might go to the future, but it's like, oh no, wait. Come back to the present moment. So it's almost like you have these like bad thoughts. They come, they mess with your head, your fear, anxiety, all that comes. It's like, okay, come back to the present moment. Who am I and what am I doing? Oh yes, I love art. I love spirituality. It is who I am. That's it. Nothing more complicated than that. So yes, hopefully that helps. Okay, so one more question on here, and then I'm going to answer your questions that you've posted during the conversation. So the last question I have here is from Coloreo. It's in Japanese. Thank you very much. The question is, 毎日これはやると決めていることはありますか? And translated, it says, every day, is there something that you promise yourself you will do? Oh, sorry, I only have 1 more minute left. So I'm going to sign off, and then I'll sign back on. Oh, let me get your questions. Hold on a second. How would you hone into your own practice and knowing what is right in these moments of change? Okay, Sebastian, if you're still on, do you think you can re-ask your question? I'm so sorry. I want to screenshot it, but I don't think I can right now. Okay, I'm scrolling through all your questions right now so that I can answer them again. Oh, thank you so much for all your answers. And I'm sorry, I'm like going sideways right now. I'm looking at your responses. Okay, good. I don't think I missed any questions. Okay, so if you have any questions that I have not answered during this session, please come back on. I'm gonna log off right now real quick and I will be back on to answer the last 2 questions. Okay, see you in a second. Hello, I'm back. Okay, sorry about that. I guess I went a little bit over time. So I'm gonna hop back on and make sure I answer all your questions. Ooh. This lighting is kind of strange here. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna try to answer all your questions and make sure that I get everything before I log off completely. For those who are joining in, thank you so much. I have part 1 of this live session up right now. I'm gonna be uploading it onto my YouTube channel as well because I was able to download the first part. So make sure you check that out if you missed it. Otherwise, I have 2 more questions to answer, and if you have any other questions right now... Oh, Sebastian, good, you're on! I'm so sorry I wasn't able to get your question. Do you think you can ask again? I'm sorry. Sorry. I'll definitely answer it. But I have one more question and Sebastian's question to answer. But if you have any other questions you want me to answer while I'm on, I'm more than happy to. You have my full attention. Okay, so back to the question for Coloreo. And they wrote in Japanese. Thank you. Oh, we'll try. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry, Sebastian. I feel horrible. Sorry. Please ask again if you remember it. So Coloreo writes in Japanese, 毎日これはやると決めていることありますか? So translated in English, it's every day. Is there something that you promise yourself you will do it? An exclamation point. You will do it. So thank you for the question. Hi, Josh. So I'll answer in Japanese first and then I'll translate it. 質問ありがとうございます。そうです。毎日絶対やるっていうことは、簡単に言えば自分らしくっていうか、なんかこう、そうですね。自分らしくいるっていうことが一番大事にしているところですかね。まあそれよりもっと簡単に言えば、リラックスしていること。なんか常にやっぱり考えたりとか何かしないといけないとかこう自分に結構プレッシャーかけるのが多くてなんて言えばいいんですかねなんか絶対にこれをやらないと次ができないっていうそういうこう昔からの悪い癖って言ったらあれなんですけど結構きっちりしないと嫌なとこがあってでもそれをやることによってやっぱり体がだんだんとストレス感じたりとか病気になったりしていってやっぱりこのままではダメだなって自分で思うようになってからはなるべくこう心がけてるのはやっぱりそう自分らしくできないことは今日はできないでそれを受け入れることが大事であとは今日はここまでしようって思うとこはこうできる限り自分がベストを尽くすようにしてでも別にだからって言ってこうなんて言うんですかねすごく自分にプレッシャー与えるっていうよりかは自分のリズムをすごく大事にしてそれでそのリズムに合った生活をするっていうのを一番心がけてることですかねやっぱり絶対するっていうのはそれですねあとはその瞑想と本読むこととジャーナリングとヨガこの4つはなるべく調子悪くない限りは毎日するように心がけてますねそれをすることによって精神的にも肉体的にも、そのスピリチュアル的にもすごくやっぱり調子がいいというか全てがこう一致するのでそれは絶対心がけてますねはい質問ありがとうございます Okay, so to translate that in English the thing that I do every day is I make it a point to flow with my natural rhythm so I have a tendency to feel like I need to do things a certain way or I put a lot of pressure on myself I think without realizing and this has been kind of a bad habit of mine ever since I can remember but trying to do things very almost perfectly or in the way that I think it should be done or this should be done this way or whatever it is and it's led to a lot of health issues and also mental issues and it's not healthy at all I don't think at least for myself maybe some people need more rigid rules but for myself it's been really counterproductive and what I've realized is that by allowing myself a lot more grace and flowing with my own rhythm because day to day it's different some days I'm physically feeling strong some days I'm physically feeling very not so great and that means what I can do in that day is very different so being able to honor that part of myself and being okay with that I'm not perfect, and I'm not able to do maybe a lot of the things that other people are able to do, and that's okay. And be grateful, I think, for the things I am able to do today, because who knows, I might not be able to do it tomorrow. So just giving myself that space, I think, is something that I definitely take into consideration every day. And the other thing is, again, the meditation, journaling, reading, yoga. These 4 things I definitely try to do every day as much as possible. Some days I can't, and again, those are the days I give myself grace, and I'm like, okay, or I try to do maybe like a little bit of it. So read like 1 paragraph, or journal 1 page, or yoga 5 minutes or something, But I try to keep that a habit because it helps to really align my whole body, and I feel really great when I'm able to do that. So I allow myself that time and space to know that it's really helping a lot with my well-being. So those are some of the things that I definitely do every day. OK。もし今インスタグラム日本語で、日本から入ってきてくださった方がいましたら、こんにちは。もし質問がありましたら、ぜひぜひ日本語でもお答えしますので聞いてください。Okay, so let me answer your question, Sebastian. Oh, thank you for writing. So he writes, how do you hone into your art when you're in a state of chance and suspension, and you see thousands of versions of you and your craft, knowing you can't live them all, especially with a scattered mind? Oh my gosh, Sebastian, thank you for asking this question, because that is so me. Let me show you an example, actually. Hold on a second. Just so that I can visually show you that I'm not just bluffing about this. Okay. So thank you for your question, Sebastian. All right. So, I have this notebook. I have a lot of journals. This is not my daily journal. This is more my creation idea journal. And in this journal, I don't know if you can see all the tabs, and I can kind of show you like all the different stuff I've written. Ooh, whoops. So anyways, if you're interested in this notebook, by the way, it's by Poketo, one of my favorite stores. And they make this notebook. It's great. It's just blank sheets inside, and you can really draw and do all kinds of stuff with this. I love it. It's their object notebook, so check it out. These are all the ideas that I've had in my mind that I want to pursue, but I just can't physically. There's only one of me and all these ideas, right? So I have this tendency, and it drives my husband crazy, but I get this inspiration from wherever, whether I'm like watching a movie or I don't know, have a conversation, and I'm like, oh, I so want to do that, like that's my calling, and I'm like so excited about it, and I'll write him like this freaking long email about like, okay, I'm gonna do this and this and this, and I'm so excited. And then I've learned as I've gotten older and experienced all these different things, I've come to realize that to execute an idea really well, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of concentration, just a lot of execution power to bring it to fruition. And I'm not just talking about like, okay, let's just, do it and it'll be like a few months. No, I mean like years of building it to a point where it actually is something that you're envisioning. For example, to get to the vision that you're having in your mind, that excited idea, it takes so much time and effort, So what I've realized is that, one, when I have all these ideas, if there's something that I can incorporate into my current practice, then okay, fine, I'll try it out. For example, like the podcast idea that I had, that's a little bit, that was a trial. Realized that I need a lot more manpower to make it happen the way that I'm envisioning, so I put it on hold. But a lot of times I come back to many things that I hold really true to myself. So what kind of lifestyle do I want to live? What kind of practice do I want to have? What's really, really, really important to me? What brings me true joy? Like, what is the focus that I want to focus my time on right now? If that new idea or all these many ideas don't align 100% with it, or at least 99.9% of it, then I put it in this journal for next time. And the reason why is because, I mean, one, I don't want to lose the idea, so that's why I kind of write it in here. But the other reason is because a lot of times by writing it down and thinking about it and having these ideas, I realize that the path that I'm going down is actually more aligned maybe with these new ideas that I have. Or maybe I haven't fully exhausted the path that I'm going down right now and I want to explore it deeper. Now, it might also be that you can do multiple things because you have the energy for it. Some people have a lot of physical and mental energy. I know I have friends who do, and they can do multiple things at once. And I think that's wonderful because that is what aligns with them. So again, being true to who you are and the lifestyle that you want to live, and the type of work that you want to be putting out into the world, I think being true to those questions will help to be okay even in like the suspended state. So you might not know exactly what that looks like. Maybe it's a culmination of all these ideas kind of distilled into like a few different expressions, maybe. But during that time when things, all the elements are suspended, having questions and specific answers to guide you, I think is really important. And that's kind of what helps me to stay focused. So anytime I feel like I'm floating and I don't know if I'm going in the right direction or I'm not sure what I want to do, I make sure to have very specific answers to questions so that I'm not going to be too floaty and too out there. So for example, recently I had the idea that I wanted to possibly pursue more spirituality. And I want to maybe start like a spiritual group and like branch out more into like that aspect, because it is really a big part of what I believe in, and it's a big part of who I am. And I started to break it down, and I wrote that crazy email to my husband, and I did all of my usual things, and I wrote it down in this journal. It's all in here. But what I realized is that as much as I want to do that, and I might perhaps pursue it in the future if I have more time and energy and manpower, is that one, what is it that I want to do? What brings me the most joy? Right now, it's art and writing poetry. It feels the most potent to me and the most direct. What kind of lifestyle do I want? I don't want to be crazy busy. I want to be able to live life. I want to be able to enjoy having time with family and friends and nature. I want to be able to breathe. I want to be able to have a spiritual practice without having to like worry about, do I have enough time? So, you know, those are things that are very, very important to me. And if I were to take on another project, I wouldn't be able to do that. But that also means that I might not be able to make as much money, right? Because I'm not doing as much output. But am I okay with that? At the current moment, yes. And thankfully for many reasons, you know, also I have to take care of my health. So all these questions combined, I think, help to eliminate certain things within my choices, all the choices that I have in my mind and all the ideas, and to really focus in on, okay, what is it that I want to do? And what is it that I want to spend my time doing? And that helps to kind of eliminate, I guess, all the wondering. Let me make sure if I'm answering all part of your question here. Yeah. So, and any time to confirm, or if I'm still feeling very scattered, is I'll meditate on it. I'll put the question out there. So this type of meditation, I call it manifestation meditation. But what I do is you can write it on a piece of paper if you want, or you can just say it out loud, or you can even just think it. But before I sit to do meditation, I'll pose the question, what is it that I need to be focusing on right now? Or if there's something specific or multiples, I'll put it out there. Like, I have this idea. What is it that I need to be focusing on right now? And I'll usually give it 3 days. So 3 is kind of like the spiritual magical number for me, at least where I know for sure that that's the direction to go. So for example, I'll pose the question, 3 days, three consecutive days of meditating on it. I'll wait for three answers to come through, whether it's through like the dream state, whether it's through conversations, or whether it's through during meditation. I might get like an intuitive knowing or whatever it is. But I allow for time for it to really come through. And then after that, I'll execute it. So that's kind of another way I approach it. If I can't come up with the answers, or I feel too scattered and I can't focus, then I just kind of put it out there into the universe. And I'm like, okay, universe, please just help guide me, because I can't work through this. I don't really know, and I just really need your guidance. So and again, that can be God. If you pray to like a particular way of praying, that's same thing. You can do that as well. You can put it out as a prayer. Another way that people do it is before going to sleep. If you're very visual when you sleep, you can put it out there before falling asleep and see if it'll come through during your sleep cycle. So yeah, so those are some of the ways that I kind of work through when there's too many ideas, or I'm unsure about a direction to go, and I'm feeling very like not confident about. If, for example, I work through it and I'm not sure, then I'll usually go through this other phase of asking. But sometimes I just go to this directly, because I would say this is more of a surefire answer for me. Again, at least for me, than when I try to work it through myself. Because when I try to work it through myself, there's like the ego, and then there's like all this like thinking involved, and then like there's, you know, I should do this and do that, and oh, so and so said this, you know, there's so much other stuff. When I ask the universe, it's direct and it's straight and it's simple, and I'm just like, tell me. And when I execute it, it's always been spot on. If it's never been off. So yeah, so that's kind of like the way that I handle that. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you so much for asking. Okay, let's see if I've answered change. Oh, change. Okay, good. Hopefully that answered your question, Sebastian. Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Sorry, I'm scrolling right now and seeing all your answers right now. Okay, good. Okay, so it looks like there's no other questions to answer, unless you have one. But otherwise, thank you so very much for tuning in to Instagram Live today. I am so happy I was able to spend time with you and connect. It's been a long time. To be honest, I just wasn't in the right mind frame to come on, and I didn't want to come on scattered, you know, like just all over the place. So I just needed some time to kind of gather myself and be present when I come on to see you. So thank you for your understanding. Again, I'm going to be, oh, Coloria, hi! I just answered your questions, so please check out Instagram Live when you have a second. I'm going to be posting these both on YouTube, so make sure you check that out to see if any of your questions are answered. Otherwise, you can always find me on Instagram here. I'm on Twitter, Facebook. I have a newsletter that I send out once a month, and I write a huge long letter where a lot of people unsubscribe because it's too long sometimes, but it's okay. But I share one or two like spiritual insights that I've had for that month when I send it out. So if you're interested in keeping up to date, it's only for subscribers. So if you want kind of a more deeper insight into like the way that my mind works or spiritual insights, then check that out. You can sign up on my website, satsukishibuya.com. Anyways, I'm again so happy to see you, and thank you again so very much. It's been nice to connect with all of you again. Oh, thank you. Wow, from Amsterdam. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thumbs up to everybody too, and waves. Okay, everybody. Subscribe. Yes, well, people do, and I understand. Sometimes, you know, when the newsletter is too long, people are just like, that's a little bit too long for me, and I'm like, okay. But I'm still gonna share. If people are interested, I'm still gonna share. As long as I have subscribers. Okay, but anyways, have a wonderful rest of your day and week. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm so happy that we were able to connect. I always appreciate your support, all your messages. I read through them all, and they mean so much to me. I love them all. もし日本の方でインスタグラムライブを見てくださったら本当に感謝してます。ありがとうございます。いつもサポートしていただき本当に感謝しています。ニュースレター、を1ヶ月1回出しているのと、あと Twitter、Instagram、Facebook にもいるので、もしよければそちらでもフォローしていただければ嬉しいです。今日本当にインスタグラムライブにこうして一緒にお話できてとっても嬉しいです。もしインスタグラムライブ見る機会がなければ、Facebook じゃなくて YouTube の方にアップするので、そちらでも見てください。Okay, thank you again. See you soon.